The story begins in the middle of fall, when golden leaves danced across the gates of St. Clair's Academy, an elite private school where the children of the rich and powerful studied. Emily Carter was new there. Everyone whispered about her, the billionaire's daughter, the one who never spoke. Not a word. Not even a hello. Teachers tried. Students mocked her silence. But Emily stayed quiet, eyes fixed on her desk, as if her voice had been locked away long ago. Her father, Richard Carter, was rarely around. A man consumed by meetings, business trips, and phone calls. He built an empire from nothing, but in doing so, he had forgotten what it meant to simply sit with his daughter, hold her hand, and ask, "Are you okay?" He told himself he was doing it all for her, but the truth was, he didn't really know her anymore. Enter Ms. Laura Bennett, a struggling teacher in her late 30s. She wasn't like the other teachers at St. Clair's. Her clothes weren't designer, her car was old, and she lived in a tiny apartment 2 hours away. But she had something money couldn't buy, a heart that believed every child had a story worth hearing. Laura had been hired mid-year, filling in for a teacher who suddenly resigned. Her first day, she noticed Emily right away, silent, distant, staring out the window. During introductions, when every student proudly shared their name and hobbies, Emily simply lowered her eyes. The class giggled. Laura didn't scold them, she simply smiled at Emily and said softly, "It's okay. You don't have to speak until you're ready." Days turned into weeks, and Emily remained quiet. But Laura began noticing small things, a drawing left on her desk, beautifully done, showing a girl standing alone in the rain. Another day, Emily stayed behind after class, helping clean up without being asked. She never spoke, but she was trying to connect. In her own silent way, Laura started digging gently. She spoke with the school counselor, learning Emily hadn't spoken in over a year, not since her mother's sudden death in a car accident. Her father buried himself in work, hiring nannies and tutors to fill the gap. But the silence between father and daughter grew until it became unbreakable. Laura decided to do something the others hadn't. She stopped trying to make Emily talk. Instead, she began listening to her silence. Every morning, she'd write something on the board like, "What's one thing that made you smile today?" and let students draw or write their answers. Emily always drew. Her drawings told stories, stories of loneliness, dreams, and one recurring figure, a little girl reaching for her mother's hand. One evening, Laura was grading papers when she found a folded note inside Emily's sketchbook. It read, "I miss her voice." That night, Laura cried quietly. She understood. Emily wasn't refusing to speak. She was afraid that if she spoke again, her mother's voice in her memory would fade away. The next week, Laura introduced a new class project, Speak Through Art. Students would create something, a painting, a song, a poem, that expressed who they were. They would then present it on stage at the annual Founders' Day celebration, an event attended by parents, including the city's elite. Emily panicked. She refused to participate. She drew furiously on paper, tears spilling over the edges of her desk. Laura knelt beside her and whispered, "You don't have to speak. Let your heart do it." As the days passed, Emily began crafting something beautiful, a mural filled with color, depicting a girl standing on a bridge, reaching toward the sunlight. Laura could see hope returning to her eyes. Little by little, the big day arrived. The auditorium was full. Cameras, reporters, CEOs, all there. Richard Carter sat in the front row, restless and distracted by his phone. Then the lights dimmed. Emily's mural appeared on the projector. A hush filled the room, and then, something no one expected happened. Emily walked up to the microphone. For a long moment, silence. Her small hands trembled. Her father looked up for the first time in months, really looked. Her voice was soft, breaking the air like a fragile melody. "This is for my mom," she said. "She told me the world is full of colors, even when everything looks gray. I stopped speaking because I thought if I did, I'd lose her voice in my heart. But my teacher told me, love doesn't fade when we share it, it grows. The entire hall was silent. Her father's eyes filled with tears as she continued, her words trembling but strong. I want to speak again, for her. When she finished, the crowd stood in thunderous applause. But Richard Carter didn't clap, he walked to the stage, tears falling freely, and hugged his daughter tightly. I'm so sorry, he whispered. I should have been here. I should have listened. That moment didn't just heal a father and daughter, it changed the entire school. Students saw that wealth, fame, and silence could all be broken by something as simple as kindness. And as for Laura Bennett, she received a letter from the board a week later. She'd been promoted and given a permanent position. But what mattered most to her wasn't the title, it was the hand-drawn card she found on her desk the next morning that it said, "Thank you for hearing me. Love, Emily." Soft piano rises again. The screen fades to Laura watching Emily laugh with friends on the playground. Sometimes, it only takes one person to see beyond the silence, to believe that even broken voices can find their way home again. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because somewhere out there, another story like Emily's is waiting to be heard, and maybe, you'll be the one to listen.